And we're
Hello.
live. We're live.
Welcome, everybody. At least two of us, besides myself. We're the FFMercs live show. It's Wednesday, 9 p.m., 9:01 Eastern. I am your new host, Scott Michaud, here with Matt Williams.
Oh, am I supposed to talk right now? I thought you were going on. I thought you were saying with Matt Williams and Nick Faber. You're just like, and Matt
I was going to get to it.
I thought you were doing the freeze frame thing. Yeah, hi, everybody. Matt Williams here.
Yeah, enough of this guy. And also here with Nick Faber.
Hey, enough of this guy, he says. All right, enough of this guy. All right. Give him the hook. You know that old hook you see on the cartoons where they rip him off the page? Dude, give Matt the hook. You know what I mean? Get him out of here.
We'll get some Oscars walk-off music. Like, cut him off. All right. So basically, yeah, we're just going to run through some general fantasy topics, try to keep it fairly topical and recent. Hopefully, it's something that's relevant to you. You can learn something, take something away. If not, I don't know what to tell you. Let's get right into it. First topic here. I want to talk about Stefon Diggs. A lot of good chatter coming out of the Bills training camp about his, emerging connection with Josh Allen. I think there were a lot of questions right as the trade was made about how viable he was going to be in that offense with Allen's accuracy issues. I don't know. There's just been a lot of good positive talk. I saw one report saying that at one point on Tuesday there was he had 9 targets out of 15 passes in one stretch, all completions. And this has just been a pretty consistent trend. What do you guys think about Diggs and the connection with Allen as it's developing here? Matt, what do you think?
I don't know what to expect, honestly, because I don't know how they're going to – I don't know what kind of team they're going to be. Obviously, Josh Allen got off to a really horrible, literally nightmarish end of the season with those critically horrible mistakes. John Brown had 112 targets last year. Beasley had 92. So that was like the two-man show. A lot of people were on Robert Foster. That never really happened. So I would have to assume that 27, 28% target share of John Brown is just going to come down. I would assume he still leans heavily on Beasley because even though Allen likes to go deep, he has a nice little safety blanket with Beasley. So I would just say that's going to end up eating, and you'll end up having 3 guys around 22, 23%, which is fine. We'll just have to see how many of those bombs he connects on. I would be much more interested in owning Diggs than Smokey, though, this year. But price-wise, probably still going with Smokey.
Okay. Nick, anything else?
Yeah, I'm not reading too much into it, to be all honest. I feel like right now I'm trying to avoid a lot of the articles that are hyping up a lot of people. It's hard for me to buy into without seeing it. And just reading one man's opinion is like, what if this guy, what he is seeing does not resonate to the NFL and does not resonate to actual in-game success. And you're just based on this beat writer who is just like us and is giving you his opinion. He never played professional. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of things that I'm weary about. So I'm not buying into Josh Allen. I haven't been buying into Josh Allen all year. I'm not buying into it right now. And I think one of the main things to take away from Josh Allen in general, regardless of how good they're saying he's looking here, Zach Moss is being highly touted right now. A lot of people want him. But honestly, he's supposed to be this pass catching running back with a quarterback who can't throw to his running backs. So I'm not buying in Josh Allen. I'm not buying in Zach Moss. Give me some stuff on Diggs, though. If he falls to the 5th round, his ADP is just too high. Give me smoke, as Matt said, all day. That's the only one I'll be touching.
Yeah, I think the general trend this year, at least up to this point, has been that, wide receivers seem so deep this year, and you can get really, really tremendous value as you're sitting there. I just wonder if the accuracy concerns are just going to be overcome by just an absurd amount of targets. That it seems like, and it's not, and when I talk about the reports in camp, I'm not just talking about one beat reporter. I'm talking about the numbers that straight up that people are seeing are putting Stefon Diggs at a very high target share. And granted, yeah, it's early, it's training camp. This is just, in light pads against at most, their defense. But, they've got a very good secondary, and he's looking good, in camp early. I think that I mean, I don't want to buy too much into it, but I think to just completely ignore it as just empty talk is just, I don't know. I'll just say this. I'm a bit more in on Diggs now than I was when the trade happened.
I don't know.
I mean, between Knox and Beasley, we don't know how it's going to shake out short. Between Smokey and Diggs, we don't know how it's going to shake out deep. The only one I'm really interested in drafting on that entire team is probably Allen himself. But a lot of people are really interested in Allen. So I mean, I'm probably going to have no Bills. In all honesty, you have the Ball Blast girls drafting. Who are they in love with? Not Singletary.
Zach Moss.
They're drafting him in like the 3rd round. He has his own insane cheering section. So I don't know. Maybe I'll draft Devin Singletary because everyone seems to hate him.
I got Singletary in a couple because when everyone's zigging, you got to zag sometimes.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, anyone who wants to comment, we're on YouTube, we're on Periscope. You got to sign in. We'll be reading your questions live, so you just got to make sure you sign in. You can ask us questions anytime.
Oh yeah, Stephon Diggs. Real quick before we get off of him, 6th round, 4th pick. He is going. Would you rather have Stephon Diggs, AJ Green, Devontae Parker, Will Fuller?
Parker, I think I would rather have. The others are just injury concerns that I don't think Diggs has. Fuller, I'm never going to trust those hamstrings to hold up over a full year. I mean, granted, when he hits, it's tremendous, and unlike anything that very few receivers can touch his ceiling. But I'm just never going to take that risk and deal with the frustration of being in on him week to week and having to see that GTD next to his name every week it's too much for me. I can't deal with it.
Give me the DTD. I'll take Fuller. What do you have, like a 70-point game last year? He'll be my wide receiver too, so I can afford that. In all likelihood, he'll be like my wide receiver too, so I'll go there. I like Devontae Parker, but I love Preston Williams too, and the quarterback situation there is a little weird. But yeah, I will with Nuke gone in Houston. I want to take a shot there because if Fuller, you're only injury prone until you're not, and if he's not, it's insane what he could possibly do. So as my wide receiver too, I'll take a shot.
I'm fully on board. Me and Matt and I think two alike because I'm right there with Will Fuller. I would take Stephon Diggs probably has the highest floor, I would say, out of everyone here because of the volume, as you mentioned, Scott. Like he should be peppered with targets. They could be sporadic targets and they could be everywhere from 30 yards and on, but they're targeted to him. But Will Fuller is too exciting for me not to. I want either him or Cooks. And if Cooks falls deep, like I'll get Cooks and I'll skip on Fuller. I don't need to double down on the Texans receivers. But it's rare that Cooks falls as deep as I want to take him. And so I'll end up going Fuller for sure. I'm all in on him.
All right. Moving on, just somewhat related. Just I want to mention it while we're here. There was some talk from Josh Allen about changing his mindset. Those are his words. And trying to get the ball to his playmakers. Didn't specifically say anything about his rushing, but that was immediately where everybody kind of went with it. We just talked about Josh Allen and, liking him as a quarterback. Does your evaluation of him change a bit if we're not going to see the same volume rushing potentially out of him that, we've seen the last couple of years? I mean, he's had 17 touchdowns rushing the last 2 years combined. That's great. That's incredible upside that you're not expecting from that position, which is what really drives, I think, that really helps you overlook some of the other Josh Allen issues. But if that's potentially not going to be there, does that affect your ranking or your valuation of him?
Absolutely.
If you believe that, he's undraftable.
Right.
Undraftable. I don't believe that. But yeah, if you believe that, mark him off your board. Draft Bridgewater, draft Cousins, draft anyone else, because without his wheels, Josh Allen is worthless. They drafted another quarterback for that reason. If Josh Allen's not running, he's not the quarterback by the end of the season.
Exactly. And if you take his touchdowns, you take it from 9, you cut it to 5. Like that's huge. The Josh Allen is he's going too high right now, and you should not be drafting Josh Allen. Like it's too high for me. Too high for me. There's not many people that get too high for me.
All right. Moving on. Somebody else we just mentioned in the Stephon Diggs discussion. Let me throw some names at you guys here. Rod Smith. Wes Welker, Victor Cruz.
These aren't names that I was expecting. Go ahead.
Miles Austin. I'm going to bring it around. Preston Williams. Is he the next great undrafted free agent wide receiver to kind of step up and become a top tier wide receiver in fantasy? What are we expecting from him this year? The reports in camp are that his knee looks really good. He looks strong. What do you guys think? I love him personally. I'm a bit biased, so I'm just going to throw that out there. But I don't know. As a pretty late receiver, I think there's tremendous upside there. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
So he's not getting drafted. Like he's unless you're in a league that's got 20 roster spots, it'll be hard pressed to find a league where he's really being drafted until that last round.
I'm drafting.
Well, and I do too. Like I'm right there with you. All I'm saying is this is a guy that could be a tremendous steal if we knew a little bit more about that quarterback situation. If Tua comes in and starts week 4, no, I'm not so bullish on Preston Williams. Like I think that we may have a few DFS games. If it's Fitzpatrick out there all year, I think we have a higher upside, and that's what you got to bank on getting Preston Williams. But as Matt knows, I'm very, very high on the fact that Tua is going to be starting very quickly in Miami, and it will not take a long time for Fitzpatrick to be out. I like Tua, and I think he'll be successful, but I'm trying to avoid Devontae Parker at ADP. There's other receivers I'd rather have in case Tua comes. And Preston Williams, there's just flyers that I would rather take at 15. So do I think he's like draftable? Sure. But I don't think you need to like press yourself. I don't think there's many leagues out there that are going to have him picked up, and you could probably get him after week 1, not spending too much fab, because there's going to be a lot of everyone always spends a ton of money on week 1. It's just
I would have Preston Williams before week 1, because if he goes off, it's kind of too late. He's one of those guys I draft. If you have the space, you draft him, you hold him, you see what it looks like. Because Devontae Parker had like 22% target share. Gesicki only had 16. We assume Gesicki's workload will go up. But Albert Wilson's sitting out, or is he hurt? Did he opt out or is he hurt? Either way,
I don't know if he's hurt, but he's opting out.
Either way, he's not.
Yeah, you're looking at a combo of what I think Isaiah Grant potentially as the wide receiver 3 there. Or,
yeah, so you're basically looking. You're looking at a 3-headed monster if they're all healthy. You're looking at Parker, Gesicki, and Williams, and then you have the backfield. Jordan Howard's not catching any passes, and you have Matt Breida, who again, who knows if he's going to be alive. Not alive. You know what I mean? On the field. So yeah, if they're not going to give Gesicki the giant uptick that we think that he may get, 16, he'll probably, hover up to 18, maybe even 20 if they're going to lean that heavy, but I don't think so. So I think Williams stands to get a lot here. So, he could get off to a big start with Fitzmagic. He does that early stuff. So, hey, if nothing else, start him, and, you could start him and trade him if he overachieves. Or you found yourself gold. But I would definitely try to hold on to him before that week 1 matchup, because I think you're going to find out his usage, and that'll be the value.
I think I will step in real quick just by saying I think Preston Williams would be a great draft and trade. The thing is, you have to read it 1 week before Tua comes to start over Fitzpatrick. Let Fitzpatrick go out there, put up 28 points, them lose all 3 games, Tua come in. But in those 3 games, you'll be getting a monster deal with Preston Williams on your team. And then after 2 of those games, you'll be able to dish him real quick. And you'll know after Tua's going to start if the Dolphins go 0-3, 0-4. Like, it's right around that time that you're going to see Tua in. It's inevitable. So, like, the question is, like, when do you want to trade him? And I think you want to play chess, not checkers, in that point.
Yep.
Just
draft. Oh, God.
Yeah, just had a question pop up. Second pick of the draft. Who should I take? Let's just assume this is a 12-team PPR. What do you guys think?
Matt Prater.
Matt.
He's going to miss out on the Minshew, free Bud Light case of beer potentially here. So,
and I know Russ, and he's a big drinker. So, let's give him that free case of beer when he gets Matt Prater.
I mean, I'm not sure I'd stray outside of the obvious McCaffrey or Barkley, whoever happens to be sitting there. I actually would take Barkley 101. I'm alone there. I love McCaffrey, but if he does what he did last year and the year before, it would be very unprecedented, the workload that he has. And there's a new offense there. They have a lot of shiny new toys. I like him. But I think Barkley, the best is yet to come. I think McCaffrey, the best has is in the past. I expect them to both be top tier, but at 2, I could give a crap. That's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're not alone. Barkley has been getting a good amount of 101 buzz, and I tend to agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you're going to see the same type usage that you're going to see that we saw for CMC this year. I mean, they brought in Robbie Anderson. They're continuing to develop Curtis Samuel. I think that Ian Thomas is going to be a more viable part of that offense now that Greg Olsen is gone as well. So, I think they have a little they have more options. I think they have a more solid, situation at quarterback this year than they did last year. I don't think they're going to have to. I don't think Bridgewater's going to have to rely as heavily on CMC as the Panthers were last year. So, but I mean, again, it's the number 2 pick. Don't overthink things. In the first round, it's easy. The first 2 picks, it's basically just CMC or Barkley. And those are really the only 2, unless you're in some weird, bizarre format that starts like 3 quarterbacks or something. I think you're just safe with just sticking with the obvious answer here. I don't know, Nick, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Superflex is a whole different question. Let's assume it's not. And at this point, I would make the argument that it goes Christian McCaffrey easily 101, Alvin Kamara 102, Zeke 103, Barkley 104. The reasoning of this is, first and foremost, Nate Soldier opts out. It's a big loss to the Giants O-line. They don't have a good O-line to start with. They didn't make a lot of adjustments in the draft to go and get offensive line to help out Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Their defense is not that good, in my opinion, and that's just a personal opinion. I don't think they lost DeAndre Baker due to off-field issues. He was their second-round pick 2 years ago. Big cornerback that they expected to step up. They drafted a couple secondary guys in that draft. Now you lose one of them. So now all of a sudden, if your defense is that good, you're playing against the likes of the Eagles, the Cowboys, who can put up a lot of points. Saquon, he'll get his dues for sure, but I just don't know if I just would almost rather trust Alvin Kamara in the New Orleans offense, high-octane offense, and I would rather trust Ezekiel Elliott, who's done it time and time again. Not to say that Saquon won't be doing it. It's just proven a little bit, and Saquon's I don't know. There's so many things that go along with it. I think the argument can be made for Kamara, Zeke, or Barkley at 102. Sure, don't get cute with it. Go with Barkley, but do whatever you got to do.
I don't know if you noticed, there was some incredibly important context missing. Russ, thank you for tuning into the show, but
get him out of here.
We really needed that information.
Yeah. So based on that, I think Jacobs. I prefer Jacobs over Chubb, and that's not just because I'm worried about Kareem Hunt this year. I think I like the profile of Jacobs a little bit better. I don't know. What do you guys think between those 3?
I think Chubb's the best running back, not fantasy running back. I think he's the best running back in football over Ezekiel Elliott in terms of traditional terms. In PPR, he obviously takes a hit. Jacobs, he got a lot of the work last year. I expect someone to come in and help him with that this year. Get sapped almost the way Chubb will with Hunt. So I'll take Chubb. I just think he's the better running back by an actual decent margin. And I'll go with Chubb. I'd be happy to have Jacobs, but I'll take Chubb.
So, and if anyone didn't hear, I'm actually in this league here with Russ. So I don't want to give them too much information. This is my league.
Where are you picking in this league?
Oh, I came in 3rd place last year, so I'm picking 10th. So okay. Sorry, Russ, who finished
second loser. Good job.
He won the what is the bowl? The Sacco Bowl, so good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Sacco Bowl. If I had to rank these though for anyone listening here, I go with Jacobs 1 for fantasy relevancy, Nick Chubb 2, Hopkins 3. But I do think Matt was right by saying Nick Chubb is the better running back of these. Yeah. He's the better running back, but I am not about Theo Riddick coming in. I'm just not. Sorry. So I'm giving all Jacobs.
I like floor, and I figure if you're the best runner, there's a nice respectable floor that I can get behind. So, I think he'll just be very, very good for a very long time.
I really like Hopkins. I'm just hoping if I say Jacobs, Russ will go get Jacobs, and then Hopkins can fall to me, and I'll be like, dumbass. All right.
All right.
May I ask, what are the rules of this keeper league where any of these gentlemen are available?
One keeper.
Whoa, one.
Ooh.
Okay.
Uno
All right.
keeper.
That makes that clarifies. All right.
Who did I think I had to keep.
See, we're now making this whole episode about this league because I want to see who the new person kept and threw him back. I'm just curious because I mean, most people have him obviously as a decreased value, but I was just, now I'm just curious.
I'm throwing this on a limb. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure the gentleman kept Lamar Jackson over Nuke. If I had to put $100 down on it, and I honestly can't. I think I had to keep Leonard Fournette, to be honest. That's how bad my team was last year.
All right, moving on.
Moving on. Here's something that'll make Nick Faber's day here. The chance to talk about T.J. Hawkinson, another guy who has been getting some very, very positive reports coming out of camp. Supposedly, he has just been lighting up their best coverage guys, their best tight end coverage guys in practice day to day. To the point where, there were some pretty embarrassing sound bites coming from some of the Detroit defensive players about it. Do we think this is real? Are we expecting Hawkinson to be the next big breakout tight end? Do we think he's going to ascend to maybe not that upper tier, because that's a pretty tough tier to crack between the Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz. Whew. But do we think he's going to enter that tier right after those guys after this year with a full season of Stafford potentially? Start with Matt. What do you think?
I think that best coverage on Detroit is a oxymoron. So I'm not sure I would take too much stock into anything that TJ's lighting anyone up in said secondary. But I'm not excited about really any tight end, to be honest. I'm taking whoever's cheap at the very end of the draft. I think that Kenny Golladay is going to be in a maybe top 8 wide receiver, and Marvin Jones is going to go off too. I'm not sure what they have in store with the incredibly talented backfield. So Hawkinson, I think that he's going to still, even though he's a little at the tail end, he's still too much of a going a little too high for me, just because I can get people that I can be similarly excited about later in the draft. I love the player, but in redraft, there's just too much going on in Detroit. It really is a crowded room more than people give it credit for.
Right.
So I don't want, and I don't. It's really hard for me to talk about the Lions this year because it's like I don't want to talk about them biasedly. Like I don't, but I honestly think that this is this year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. I think the defense is going to let up a lot of points, and you're going to see a lot of points coming from their offense. And I think they have a better quarterback and better weapons around the quarterback, where that offense will still be proficient, will be more successful than what we saw in Tampa Bay. But it's the same kind of philosophy. This is the team that I want to be drafting. It's very similar to the Jaguars. That's why I like DJ Shark. That's why I like Gardner Minshew. That's why I like D.D. Westbrook, because their defense isn't that good. And sure, you can add Josh Allen, and you can add whatever cornerback they added this year. I can't remember, Chris Henderson maybe. But anyways, it's not going to turn into this great defense. They're going to have a bad defense. There's going to be a lot of points to be scored. Along with Detroit, the defense isn't going to be there. So as much as Kenny Golladay could be a top 8 wide receiver, and Marvin Jones could be a top 20 wide receiver, and DeAndre Swift could be a top 15 running back due to pass catching and running, Hawkinson could easily be a top 5 tight end, which is where I have him ranked right now, because it isn't that hard to be a top 5 tight end. It's hard as hell to be a top 3 tight end, to break the Andrews, Kittle, and Kelsey mold, in my opinion. Ertz isn't there anymore. But to break that mold is very tough. But Hawkinson Darren Waller, I mean, he could outperform what Darren Waller did last year. We've seen Hawkinson not just lighting it up against the safeties, but lighting it up in the red zone. He might not get you a ton of yards, a ton of receptions, 3-4 receptions a game, 40, 50 yards. He averaged 11.5 yards per catch last year. We could keep that going. So he gets 4 receptions, 45 yards, but he gets a touchdown every other week. And that's huge in fantasy. That right there gets you top 5 fantasy points easily.
But I think you said the whole thing is that it's not hard to be a top 5 tight end, but you can say that about maybe 15 guys. Like in ADP right now, I love Hawkinson, but Gesicki's going after him. Jonnu Smith's going after him. Dallas Goedert's going way after him. Blake Jarwin was more interesting before they drafted another wide receiver. But there's just so many people. It just for tight end in general. I don't fall in love with anyone because it'll depend on the draft. Whoever comes to me in that group of names I like, I'll take. So I like Hawkinson. He's just
apples to oranges though, because these tight ends are Blake Jarwin. These tight ends are
Gesicki, Jonnu. I think that they could be fine. I think they could do it.
Offensive coordinator that hasn't had a tight end be above tight end 32 in any fantasy year in his career. So it's not just the break. It's not the Gesicki season. It's what it is.
Well, it also has to do with market share too. Gesicki could get a 20% share. Hawkinson's not going to see that. Jonnu could be the second best wide receiver there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I have serious concerns about Tennessee's pass game volume in general.
There's a reason he's a discount.
Yeah.
Hawkinson in his second. This is the prime. Like those other guys you're drawing, and you're like, okay. 5th year is the year they're breaking out. 6th year is it. This is Hawkinson's second. Like if you're a good tight end, if you are a good tight end and a potential elite tight end, then your second year is your biggest year. That is your breakout year.
Who do you like him? Who do you like more, him or Fant?
Hawkinson. Just because I don't love Drew Lock. What is Drew Lock threw 7 touchdowns in 5 games last year? Why the hell is everyone thinking he's now going to be a 45 touchdown stud? And Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant's all going to be top 5. It's ridiculous. No, I don't believe in Denver this year. Too much hype, just like Cleveland last year.
I will just add in, immediately, because I tend to view things more from a DFS view. My takeaway was, I'm going to stream tight ends against Detroit. For as long as I can. The initial schedule isn't looking necessarily great for that. There are going to be some names that I have to plug in that I'm not necessarily comfortable with. I'm seeing Bears, Packers, Cardinals early in the season.
Jay Sternberg. All right.
Well, so. That does bring me into something I want to bring up. And we evoked the name of Darren Waller. I think everybody, who's interested in the tight end position is, that's the hot name now. Like, let's find the next Darren Waller. Who are we looking at potentially that's in the way back end of these drafts? And I'm talking deep drafts that, we could potentially see ascend, maybe not to the level of Waller, but somebody who could be a top 10, in the position. And again, we've already stated that's not exactly the highest bar to clear. But I'm thinking more about guys that are kind of off the radar. So names that I was thinking of just when I was thinking of this. Probably the biggest name there in the back end is Herndon. I really like Chris Herndon. Guys like Logan Thomas, who is JJ's one of JJ's favorite guys. Dan Arnold has been getting a lot of kind of hype. With Max Williams not practicing much, and even, they've said that he's probably going to be more of the blocking tight end anyway. Trotman, Komet. There's a lot of names in the back ends of the positional depth, the tiers there that I think are potential guys. But, do you trust any of these guys to kind of crack that top 10, maybe top 12, if we're going to go with like a standard size league?
I mean, I definitely can think of a few. Like, I think Ian Thomas is being underappreciated, especially with Teddy Bridgewater. We know Bridgewater's not going to pass it deep. He's going to try to find some security blankets. Ian Thomas could be that. I definitely think CJ Uzomah is getting no love with a rookie quarterback who's got a lot of good weapons around him, but is still going to want a security blanket, and that's where the tight end comes in. He'll be a good red zone security blanket for him as well. And then if you look at Eifert in Jacksonville, I'm pretty sure is where Eifert landed. I think that's the spot with Gardner Minshew. Like I said, I think that a lot of Jaguars are going to outperform their ADP this year in the passing game, and I think that there's a tight end to be found somewhere, and I think it's Eifert. So
I think this is a little higher up, but like Jack Doyle, I think we talked about in the past. T.Y. Hilton it plays banged up a lot. You don't know between Paris Campbell what's going to be going on with the rest of the team with Phillip Rivers in town. I think that Jack Doyle, like we've been waiting, and maybe low key this could be the year he finally puts it together. I think that I don't know, like his ceiling is questionable. He would probably require tons of injury in order to get up there. So yeah, I guess I already talked myself out of it. I think he's like a fantastic value, but I don't think he has the ceiling. Maybe they're hoping the other guys can crack, but there's a ton of value at the back end.
All right. Moving on. So let's talk about Todd Gurley.
Nah, pass.
This is why I think it's actually worthwhile to talk about him. So the gut reaction is to just go pass. And I understand, people probably have a pretty sour taste in their mouth from, what we saw from him, last year. But he's in a different situation now. Atlanta is, talking about using him. The numbers that they put out were minimum 15, maximum 25 for touches. That's a good offense. A bad defense. There's going to be a lot of opportunity there in Atlanta. Do we think that Gurley is worthwhile where he's going? Do you think he's overdrafted right now? What do you think you're doing with him if you're in a draft room and maybe you went Holmes or Jackson early and you're looking at having to take a running back from that tier that you don't feel great about? Do you just avoid Gurley or what do you think about his fantasy outlook this year, Nick?
So I just took Gurley. I'm freezing up over here too. I can see it. All right. Well, whatever. Deal with it. We're lagging a little bit. And I was trying to pull my team up real quick, but I just drafted Gurley. I don't even know where I drafted him, but I drafted him.
Was he your third running back?
I don't know, but I was disgusted with it. I didn't want to do it.
He'd have to be my third for me to even consider it.
To be all honest, he may have been my second. I'm just going to double check right now. I went Christian McCaffrey 1.
Then you watched them all go.
And I watched them all go. Oh,
yeah.
No. Yeah, I think he was 2. Yeah, I think he was 2. I did watch them all go, and he went 2. So that's what I'm saying. I was disgusted with it, right? Didn't want it.
Who was can you let us know who was left on the board?
I don't know. Can I do that right here live?
I don't know. Here, I'll ask you real quick. Who would you rather have had if Leonard Fournette, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell were all sitting there?
Can you just look up your draft real quick?
Probably I don't know. Well, you can just tell me. You can just tell me your opinion.
Wait. Okay, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
If Gurley was there, but Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Leonard Fournette were all sitting there as well, and James Conner throw him in there. If all those were sitting there, would you have taken Gurley?
I would have went Fournette, Bell, Gurley, the other guy you said. I can't remember him right now.
Conner and David Johnson.
Yeah. I didn't hear you say Conner. I would go Fournette, Conner, Bell. Gurley. Johnson.
What about Chris Carson or Gurley?
Too many names coming in here. Chris Carson, I would go with over Gurley. Yes.
I go every single one of those over Gurley.
The thing is, Gurley, we're all mad at him last year. All he did was score 12 touchdowns and get 857 yards. But damn it, Gurley, I was expecting 1,500 yards. You're an asshole. Get off my team. Gurley was all right.
Says the guy who was quote unquote disgusted he took Gurley.
I was. I didn't but I got him, so I'm gonna stick up for him now. I'm gonna will it to victory here, and I do think he's gonna get 20. He's gonna get 20 carries a game until week 1 when he gets 12 carries.
All right, let's go.
That report. What the hell? It's I can't trust these reports right now. Just can't do it.
Let's go just a little bit deeper. I just want to get just a good gauge of where I think we are with Gurley. What about Devin Singletary or Gurley?
Gurley.
What about Ronald Jones or Gurley?
We're talking about scenarios that never exist, but Gurley.
Okay, what about recently injured David Montgomery or Gurley?
David Montgomery, if he was healthy, yeah.
Ooh, but with a growing injury, how bad is it?
With a groin injury, he's off my board. But so is Gurley. So, who cares? Give me Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, no, I think Gurley over all these guys.
Okay, let's move on. So Tyrell Williams has a torn labrum. I think expectations of him as the, quote unquote wide receiver 1 for the Raiders were, all over the place anyway. But there's definitely going to still be some passing going on out in the desert there. Do we think that this is a significant bump for some of the rookies out there, be it Ruggs or Edwards, or do we think that some of that volume just goes to, Waller and Jacobs, and there's really not much that you can do to really, leverage this injury anyway, because those guys are just going to go where they're going to go? What do you guys think, Matt?
Hunter Renfrow.
Hunter Renfrow.
He has nothing to do with these targets because he's playing his own game. But yeah, I think Tyrell's injury, along with the uncertainty of the rookies, will play up really positively for Waller and Renfrow. So Waller's being taken, much higher in draft. So Renfrow, a guy I was already excited to be drafting, is someone, especially in PPR, I would be all over. I think that he can climb up almost into that 20% range that Cole Beasley is in Buffalo. So I think Renfrow is the guy because he's already done it with Carr for a year, and I think that is the guy I'd be targeting here.
Yeah, I love me some Hunter Renfrow. I got him in I got him in the Dynasty League. I love me Hunter Renfrow. But Bryan Edwards, he's got to be mentioned. He's running first team reps. He's looking good. This guy, I went out and drafted him in the last, I took a flyer on him over Preston Williams. I don't know why I'm starting to think his name is Preston Wilson. I said it earlier today, and now I just think I'm wrong when I say Preston Williams. Anyways,
you're thinking of baseball players.
I must be. Baseball's on, right? How are the Tigers doing? Probably bad. I don't think that I just think Carr is good. He's just not great. Waller's going to regress. We're going to see more go to Renfrow. Bryan Edwards is going to be a name. But Henry Ruggs probably gets his fair share. I mean, right? He's going to get 90 targets probably this year.
I mean, nobody was excited about Tyrell Williams heading into the year last year and, put up decent numbers. So, and again, that's with all those caveats we just mentioned, that Carr's not that great. Gruden is running an offense that's more suited to, the early 2000s than the 2020s. But he still was a very viable, wide receiver play for a lot of teams that were able to pick him up early and just kind of ride that wave. So, I guess my question was more just, how much do we think this bumps up either Ruggs or Edwards? But I mean, I think obviously, Renfrow is still going to get his. I still think Renfrow is the wide receiver one there, even if Williams was healthy. But
Ruggs and Edwards both get a bump because of it. I don't think it's anything extreme. I don't think their ADP is crazy good at this point or anything, but they do get a bump. To answer the question, I think they do get a bump.
All right. Sticking with more injury news, Darrell Henderson last Saturday left with a hamstring strain. I don't believe has practiced since. I didn't check and see anything today. Cam Akers is already a name that was, a very popular name as far as the rookies where he's going. Do you think that it's worth giving him a bump up? And if so, when are you going to reach for him?
I think he's finally worth the draft price he was already going for, now to be taking above, which he's now going to be overdrafted even further. I would rather have him than DeAndre Swift, Ronald Jones, Raheem Mostert, Devin Singletary, Mark Ingram, though. But I wouldn't be drafting him where those guys are going. Like right now, they have his ADP at the Akers, the end of the fifth, maybe the beginning of the fifth if I really needed. If I really didn't have locked down a running back 3 at that point, but it'd be even better as an RB4. But yeah, not really. All those guys I mentioned are kind of, intermixed. So it depends on team if I needed solid production or if I could gamble. Like I said, I'd be much more willing to reach for him to be my running back 4. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Nick? He's already these rookies. That most of them are not going to work out. That's the way it happens most of the time, which is why I'll have zero shares of Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well. It doesn't quite work out the way you want usually.
Yeah, and for the ones that it does work out, it's the ones you don't expect. You know what I mean? It's the ones you catch and you're just like, man, I got lucky with that. But then you say you knew it all.
Like Dobbins, right? He's probably a terrible pick, and watch him just for some reason be the bell cow for the Ravens, and they'll ignore everyone else.
Exactly.
We've all been burned on the Ravens running back bandwagon, so I think this maybe is the year that finally I'll avoid it and have no shares of any of it anywhere.
I just said that same thing. I was just like, no way. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. I don't know how the saying goes. Fool me 3 times, I'm done. Get me out of here. What did George Bush say? Cam Akers, it's so interesting. That offensive line is terrible. It's terrible. You don't want it.
You went William Shatner there for a second there. That offensive line is terrible.
Cam Akers is very good.
But Cam Akers very good. I was kind of more on the Henderson train going into the season, but it's swiftly changing to the Cam Akers train. Give me Cam Akers. I will gladly spend an early 5th round pick on him. I won't reach for him any more than that. If someone wants to give him in the 4th, Heidi ho, good for you. But I'll take him in the early 5th. I don't mind doing that. I'll take him in the late 5th. I don't mind that. Matt, you said it. You hit it right in the head. Like, he's now finally worth the ADP that he's at. He was never worth his ADP, but I guess maybe they knew that Henderson would get injured and he'd bump up. So, but it is what it is. But I'll take Cam Akers in the 5th round. I have no problem with that.
All right. This is more just a general maybe observation, but I don't know how much fantasy takeaway you can take from this. But news today or news recently, I think from this morning, was that Joe Judge wanted to remove Daniel Jones's non-contact red jersey. This was a couple of days after there was reports that Saquon Barkley was working with the kick returners in practice. Really, my question when I saw these two things was, why do the New York Giants hate your fantasy team, and what the hell is going on with this? This seems like, to me, a terrible idea. Can you justify this in any way? Matt, what do you think?
No.
Like I was just baffled by this. Like I read it, and I'm bringing it up now, honestly, because I just wanted to process this and see if maybe there was some sort of, extra level that I wasn't, seeing this from, where this makes some sort of sense. But this just seems like a terrible idea, no matter how you look at it. I don't know, Nick, anything to add?
Inexperienced coaching can kill you. It can hurt your team. You're an NFL team, your fantasy team. I don't know what's happening. Good luck. Good luck. I don't know. When Daniel Jones goes down in practice and is out for 8 weeks, you're going to see a new head coach real quick. Parcells will come running back.
Are you telling me a good head coach isn't a wide receiver coach on a team with bad wide receivers? Are you telling me that was a bad call?
It's shocking, but I think I that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Listen, if we know anything about New York sports in general, they've just had a tremendous run of just managerial hires across the board, So
you're about to have another one next year.
Oh God, yeah. Anyway.
I really Giants, Jets, Mets. I don't know anything about hockey, but they're going to be looking at a bunch of new coaches.
Damn, or New York. Don't worry, I'm in Detroit, and we can't win anything in any sport. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to be too upset for New York, But there are obviously a lot of New York fans that aren't Yankees fans or Giants fans. So
Knicks just got a new coach.
That's a whole other dumpster fire situation that I don't think we need to go into. But man, yeah, my heart goes out to you if you're a Knicks fan right now. And really for the last 20, 30 years, I think Knicks fandom probably peaked with John Starks, and that's
dunk. Now that was all heartbreak too after Ewing, because you had to deal with Jordan sticking it to you. Basically, it was Willis Reed and then nothing.
But I mean, the identity of that team though was exactly what New Yorkers aligned.
Oh yeah, Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, that was fun. We're down a rabbit hole that makes no sense though, so we should really dig ourselves out of this.
All right. So we mentioned it earlier. The David Montgomery injury. It's fresh news. I figured we should talk about it. I think Cohen, is the obvious immediate recipient. Is there anything else to really take away from this? Let's just get full into the overreaction here, because there are also reports that Jimmy Graham, the corpse of Jimmy Graham, has been looking.
Hey! The ghost of Jimmy Graham.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Position. He's stepping in for Montgomery. I love it.
Well, it's just that he's been looking very good in practice. I don't really see too many in-house options here. I mean, you're looking at some combo of Cohen, Patterson. Who's the rookie that they have there too?
Well, they got Artavis Pierce and they got Ryan Nall.
And Ryan Nall, yeah.
They got Devontae Freeman on the free agent.
That's where a lot of people were looking. So
there's one very important thing to note here, and that's that Tariq Cohen last year had a certain target share, and that will not change, and he had a certain amount of rushing attempts, and that will not change. His role is his role. They will stuff something else or a combination of something else into Montgomery, but Tariq Cohen won't have anything to freaking do with it.
Well, I think the reaction will be for certain people. I don't know, but like I think the general reaction is going to be to overreact to this and jump on Cohen.
Yes.
So, but I agree. I do think because they even talked about overworking him at times. Last year, and they wanted to be smart about how they manage him. I mean, you look at the guy's build, you can't just be feeding that guy a ton of touches. It's not going to work out great in the long run for him or the team.
Really, he's a slot receiver you can throw in your running back spot. He had 100 targets, hardly. I mean, that's kind of what he is for them.
Yeah. But let's go through the mental exercise here. Assume that they do sign Freeman and Montgomery has a long-term injury. Where are we slotting in Freeman now in the running back hierarchy?
I would want Matt Breida ahead of him. I want Cohen in front of him. I want Zach Moss in front of him. He would be down right with Darrell Henderson, Sony Michel, around there, like Sony Michel. He'd be right there.
I would take David Montgomery, slide him out, take Devontae Freeman, and slide him right in that same position.
Really?
I have just as much faith in Devontae Freeman as I do in David Montgomery. Why are we expecting like David Montgomery's a top 24 running back? If Freeman could be a top 24 running back, he could. Like if Nick Foles is starting for that team, then they have a possibility of having a top 24 running back.
That would be brutal for Tariq Cohen, incidentally.
It would knock Cohen down a little bit, unfortunately.
I don't think I would hate that.
I would have no problem with it. I don't really want anyone from Chicago, but I think whoever it is in Chicago will be a bell cow. My guess would be Mike Davis.
Seriously though, let's say that Henderson's out, and let's say that Montgomery's out. You would rather have Freeman than Cam Akers? I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. I would rather have Cam Akers. I do like him. And Swift, but that's probably about it. That's about it.
How about Philip Lindsay?
No, I would rather have Freeman over Lindsay for sure.
I think if forced, I'd take Lindsay. I don't know what the heck Denver has in store for us.
Yeah,
I
Denver's
think that
another tough read on their running back situation.
Yeah, I'll have 0 shares of I can't even think of his name. Melvin Gordon. But I probably will end up with a few of Lindsay because I think he'll end up out earning his ADP or at least delivering on it.
Yeah, I think if you get stuck in like kind of the modified 0 running back situation where if you have like the 1 or 2 pick and you go CMC or Barkley early, you just watch the depth get destroyed, and maybe you go tight end or quarterback with like one of your 2 3s, and you're starting like in the back end of that draft, right? In the back end of that build, you're just looking at trying to find some potential upside at the running back position. Yeah, I mean, like that's the scenario in which I think Lindsay makes a lot of sense. He's solid upside at that range because you really don't need much to it's not a wild scenario where Lindsay steps into a much larger role if Gordon gets hurt or things are not going in a positive way for Denver. So
he's the 41st running back being drafted. Yeah, he probably will finish right there. But that's not what you want to draft. You don't want to draft someone at the 41 position expecting them to stay at the 41 position. I don't think Lindsay has any chance of being above the top 30 in running backs. And there are guys down there that I would be. I mean, I almost would say that Chase Edmonds would have a better chance of finishing above the top 30 in the running backs than Philip Lindsay. I think we just know what Philip Lindsay. And that's if Gordon stays healthy. I mean, I don't know. I had no faith in Lindsay. No faith in the Broncos this year. No faith.
By the way, never go 0 running back. I don't even care where the depth goes.
Well, I mean, I say 0 running back.
In the first 4 rounds, if you don't have 3 running backs, just mail it in.
People love it. They're like, there's great running backs in the 5th and 6th round. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Well, and I think the term 0 running back really like kind of like triggers some people too into thinking you're just ignoring it. But I mean, that's why I refer to it as like a modified 0 for just like lack of a better term. there are a lot of rooms where, yeah, like if you do have that 1-2 pick and you go CMC or Barkley or Kamara or Zeke, you do watch that depth, especially in that the first 2 tiers just go. And we've all seen the teardrop after that second kind of grouping, and it just kind of becomes a group of guys where they all need one thing or 2 things to really hit. And then, and the deeper down you go, you're seeing more needs. Like they need to have this person get hurt. They need to have this, change happen. They need to have this or that. And for me, when it's, and you brought up Chase Edmonds, I think Edmonds is like, a model kind of zero running back, target for somebody that, has RB1 talent, has, an unproven guy, ahead of him. And also like a guy I think just on a 1-year contract. So there's no commitment there for Arizona to do anything with Drake if he starts slow. So, but anyway,
he's one of the guys I'm jumping after late. Him and Justin Jackson are my 2 guys that don't really need anything to be top talented running back, like top tier running backs. Like you could see Edmonds just outperform Drake, and we saw even with David Johnson there that they would feed Edmonds in the most inopportune times. It seemed like it would be in the red zone, 3rd down, and you'd have Chase Edmonds instead of David Johnson. People would be like, "What are you doing?" Like they have a lot of faith in him. And then Justin Jackson, like Eckler, I'm not like they both could be very good. I'm not trying to say Eckler won't be good, but Justin Jackson could literally just get the 1st and 2nd down touches and all of a sudden be 900 yards and 10 touchdowns because Tyrod Taylor can't throw it in the red zone or something. Like I don't know. Those guys don't need like J.K. Dobbins needs an Ingram injury and needs Lamar Jackson not to steal. Like he's like 3rd on the list, and there's Justice Hill there. Too many things that he needs to go. I love the way you said that.
You brought up an interesting name too there that I think we should just talk about quickly. Eckler. Do we expect that efficiency to hang? I mean, obviously, I think everybody's just expecting a natural bump in usage, but I think he's kind of like the Uber Cohen, where I think that team knows what they want him to do, and I think they have a pretty set idea of how many touches they want to give him in order to do that. And I don't think that how many touches that they want to give him versus where he's being drafted are fully aligned. And I think that, I mean, this is just my opinion, and I don't know if he has the ability to match the efficiency he had last year to kind of justify maybe what I think is just a meager bump in usage for this year for his draft, for his draft position. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think he's being severely underdrafted. The same exact system that they ran in Buffalo when Tyrod Taylor was there, they brought over to the Chargers. He's not Tariq Cohen in the sense that he's not going to be the bell cow. They're going to Justin Jackson's going to get plenty of looks. Joshua Kelly could get plenty of looks, but he's going to get a decent amount. He's going to get more than he did last year overall. We saw what he did when he was the main guy. They know they can lean on him to be that. So I think the targets won't be quite what they were, but overall, I think the overall workload will be up from last year. You don't need him to be as efficient to outperform where he's going right now, which is whatever the running back 12. So I think that he's a great value where he is. I'm not saying you necessarily want to overdraft him. I think he's just gold where he's going. I would never let him go past the turn. I would be drafting him over a couple of guys in front of him. But I think that people are trying to ding him for his quarterback, and I honestly don't think that does anything to hurt him. I think that it hurts Keenan Allen. I think it definitely hurts Mike Williams. But I think Austin Eckler, as far as having an epic ceiling, has a really, really safe floor that some of these other guys don't have. And I think I said that earlier why I didn't go I can't remember the 2 guys we're talking. It was Jacobs versus Chubb. I love floor, and I think the workload gives Eckler a great floor. So I guess it's personal preference in terms of how you view ceiling versus floor. But yeah, give me the rock solid floor with the incredible upside.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the quarterback, talk. Did people watch Phillip Rivers last year? Like, do they really think that he was, that significant of an upgrade over potentially what they could get out of Tyrod Taylor? And
they bring up the dump offs, and if people actually look up the stats as far as percentage of passes for dump offs over the last 3 years, Yeah, he's actually didn't even have as many as Tyrod Taylor. Taylor actually is a more of a dump off artist than him.
Yeah,
and the system using in Buffalo is now in the Chargers. I mean, I'm looking there. He's going to be throwing it to him, and accuracy doesn't matter when you're throwing it 2 feet. That's why Josh Allen loves Cole Beasley.
I think in a PPR league, Eckler is the 15th, 14th, 15th best running back. He's being overdrafted.
Ooh.
In a half-point PPR, he's being extremely overdrafted. And it's not the simple fact that Tyrod Taylor dumps off more than Phillip Rivers. What Phillip Rivers did was throw it deeper than Tyrod Taylor. Maybe not accurately, but he did it. And by doing that, you push that defense backwards. You make those safeties keep their eyes on those receivers. You do not do that with Tyrod Taylor. He did not air it out to Robert Woods when he was there. He did not air it out. He was a dump-off artist. That's what he does. That draws the defense in. And those are the little things that I try to think about when it comes. And this is nothing more than just a gut feeling, but you need to look at coordinators that leave. You need to look at like those kind of things. You need to look at when your quarterback leaves, you're not just putting Tyrod Taylor in Phillip Rivers' body and being like, well, everything's going to be the exact same, but Tyrod Taylor actually dumps off a little bit more, so it'll be all right. Like, it's just a different person. It's a different style. It's a different quarterback. It's going to be a different type of offense. They're also not going to be as high octane. They won't get as many first downs. There will be less chances for Austin Eckler to be on the offensive field. Their defense is stout. They're going to be in more rushing games. It will not be down by 10 points or down by 20 points with 3 minutes to go. So let's just dump it to Austin Eckler because they're playing prevent defense and we can stack 15 points in the last 2 minutes of the game. And it won't be like that. It'll be Justin Jackson trying to keep them in this 17-16 game. I want everything Justin Jackson. I want nothing Eckler. If you give me Eckler in the bottom of the second, I'll gladly take him and say, what a deal. But if you want me to draft him at the bottom of the first round, instead of guys like Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, it's preposterous. It's ridiculous. Get it out of here. Come on.
Yeah. I'll take him in front of all those guys in the first round.
Yeah. Also worth mentioning that the main deep threat for the Chargers is potentially out week 1. Mike Williams just hurt his shoulder. He's week to week. That's not a great sign. So I mean, maybe the takeaway there is Eckler, just plug him into DFS lineups for that first week and hope you get a ton of those dump offs early.
Do you have a deep sleeper for my week 1 DFS right now, Scott? Because I know you're the DFS guru, so I need to know.
Honestly, I haven't really
You haven't gotten into it yet.
I haven't dove. Just a bit of a disclosure here. I've been deep into a ton of dynasty startups. I've been dipping my toes in that water. So that's been really drawing some of my attention. That and best ball. I've been doing a lot of best ball drafts. So, but yeah, actually this week is the week I'm going to start really digging deep into the pricing. But we can get into that at another time. And
my best ball deep sleeper, by the way, or not deep sleeper. My best ball must get is McCole Hardman. Get him in every best ball league you can.
He has been steadily creeping up like ADPs, from earlier in the summer to now. He's going much earlier than where he was.
I'm not sure if it's a sleeper by any means, but according to his ADP, it should be. Hollywood Brown is the most disrespected guy in every draft I've been in so far.
Reach it. He's been going. He's been like, I saw a tweet about this actually, not from me, but I just saw it randomly, and I instantly was like, me too. But the tweet said, it seems like every draft I'm in, Marquise Brown goes about 1 or 2 picks before me, right as I'm about to get him. And I'm like, dude, I haven't got a share of him yet, and I love him. I want everything to do with Marquise Brown, but I guess I'm waiting one round too long.
Yeah, I don't know how hot takey this is, but I actually like Marquise Brown more than AJ Brown this year.
That is hot takey.
That's pretty hot.
I like both, but I really like AJ too. I like Hollywood more than I like DJ Chark. I'll go there.
I can't get on board, but I like Marquise Brown a lot. I like DJ Chark a lot, and I think AJ Brown is a top 5 candidate.
Yeah, I've been suckered into the Baltimore pass game because I actually like Miles Boykin as a late flyer too. But this is like deep late.
Yeah, I mean they just Roto World just put some out. Boykin looking good, looking fresh.
All right, we're running out of time here. Before we end things, let's just tell everybody Twitter handles, where we can find you, what you've been working on, and we'll wrap things up. Matt,
I refuse.
All right, Matt abstains.
Nick not realizing that most people will be hearing this via audio, pointing at the video screen.
Well, if you were watching and you were cool, then you'd see me pointing at my Twitter handle. And if you're not watching, I'm not going to give it to you. You know what? Go watch next time. You'll learn.
Well, I respect the fact that most of our viewers are going to be coming via the podcast. So, yeah, follow me on Twitter, Matt Williams, METTWI77IMS. Let's talk football.
Nick, anything to add?
No, I don't. Nothing to add. I'm just fucking around over
here. All right. Well,
Nick Faber, NFL. He works for the NFL.
Hey-o! Work for the Lions. Lions Brawl. We're about to be credentialed Tuesday. No, I'm just joking. I wish, though. I wish. That would be so cool. God damn. I'd quit my day job. I don't care what I be getting paid. I'd quit it.
All right. I think that's a good place to stop. I have been your host, Scott Michaud. You can find me on Twitter at SMICH_5. We'll be back here again next week. Wednesday, 9 o'clock is our slot. We're going to try to keep it to an hour, roughly, hopefully starting roughly around 9 o'clock. So please tune in next week. Any questions you have, you can join us live in the chat or send us questions before the show. And that's it. Anything else you guys want to add before we officially end this?
Go Lions.
No, go Lions. Boo. I got nothing. I hope there's games. Still skeptical.
Correct. Yes.
Right. Goodbye, everybody.